Get everything fired up here. Get everything fired up and move everything the hell out of the way, because we got lots of chaos here. So we're kind of doing two builds at once. I had to start working on something else while this thing was drying. I had a lot of primer parts on this vehicle. A lot of black primer parts. This needs to just go away. I've been working on this stuff for a long time. Well, actually, the smoke is done. Just the other drop stuff isn't done. I have not felt in the mood to do that. That's not very creative. Anybody can do that stuff. The stuff that anybody can do, well, just have anybody do it. Where the hell are my other glasses? The super readers. Oh, they're over there. Okay. The plus 375s or 350s or whatever the hell they are. 325s. Something like that. Oh, they're blurred out. Don't know what the hell they say. Okay, well, we'll see if anybody comes by and take a look at what we're working on. It's been kind of not very exciting in that aspect lately. So we're going to paint these pieces the colors that we need it to be, and then while that's drying, we'll come back and we'll do the black lining on this vehicle, which its wheels turned out glued really nicely. Okay, so we're going to need white, and we're going to use this ivory color. It's in here somewhere. And of course, you know, it's going to end up getting a brown wash in these areas, so I'm going to try something different. Last time I primed all this stuff and then put the white over it. I'm just going to put the white over it and see how it works. See if we can save ourselves a step. We'll use this dark color where you can see where this is. A teensy little bit of water. It's gonna be like it's gonna be like that. It's one of these, huh? One of these old colors that I haven't even used it much. I got this like over 20 years ago, and I really haven't even used this color that much. And there's the mixing ball. It's the first thing that comes out is the mixing ball. That's not a good sign. It's not a good sign. Let's see if we can get one of these. It's not too terribly small. Yeah, the mixing ball's all the way up here. Got this freaking paste. Yeah, this is one of these colors that I bought a long time ago, and I probably got it used. Not used, but I mean, it'd been sitting on somebody's shelf a long time. We'll just put it back. That should be enough white there for it. Welcome. Greetings and salutations. Let's get a little bit of black here that we like to use in our painting style. That should be enough. And then let me get a brush that, unlike this one, I just changed the water out, so I'm not going to actually rinse that brush. Yeah, this one should work fine. We're going to do a little bit of water and just a tiny little bit of black. So we got like a gray thing going on here. And then we're going to come in and we're going to paint all these areas that are chipped up. That had paint on them, but they're chipped up. Well, why are you doing that if you're going to make it look damaged? I said, because I want to make it look damaged in my own way, not where some kid decided to chip this thing up. Because that's what I got this thing used. I got this at a place called Vintage Toy King, and it was basically in the bin for $1. And this is a relatively old model, Peterbilt truck 1981 Matchbox. So this definitely looks like it's been buried in the ground for a while, and just do with it what kids do with it. Dig holes, put things in the hole. Kids are archaeologists when they're younger. They put things in the ground, and at least I was. But this is going to be a big vehicle. A big vehicle. I haven't decided exactly how many points it's going to be, but it's close to 50 points. Why is this asking me if I want Meta Horizon? No, don't fuck with things right now. I want a live broadcast. Leave me alone. This is probably this is the biggest point vehicle I've built. And it should be menacing. This is like if you had a Car Wars type game, this would be the boss. One of the bosses you had to fight by would be this guy right here. El Carnicero. Which means the butcher. But he's for the Mexican lowrider team. Well, how come he's not a lowrider? Well, really, you want to see a lowrider Peterbilt? That would be weird. This thing's got several tricks up its sleeve. You have to get all this stuff off of it, but just some. And you think this looks really pristine. I got a little bit of paint on that wheel. It won't make a difference by the time we're done with it. Now, this is all painted white, but it's going to have all kinds of splatter and damage and all kinds of shit on there. So it's going to take a little while to paint, but I think it's going to be a crowd favorite. I said this looks really bright, but this doesn't have a wash or anything on it yet. And I don't necessarily like making things look pristine. And I don't like to make them look like they've been through hell and back. It's like somewhere in the middle between the two. Okay, and this is the part that we painted, so this is going to get covered. We built this piece. This is going to be in the white color as well. And then this up here, this will also be white, and the back half of the chain gun. And might be able to paint this a little quicker airbrushing it. What's the fun in that? It's gonna need two coats anything, and anyways, and I want to see what these parts look on here anyways, so I can kind of figure it out as I go. Now, this extremely large chain gun, put everything from here back is going to be this white color. Yeah, well, I don't have the ones here that are, you can look on my channel and you see the other things that I finished, but these aren't finished. It takes a little bit of time. You know, it's like, oh man, this looks kind of shitty. Well, not when you're done. You got to trust the process. And after doing this about 50 times, you kind of know that, hey, the beginning of it, don't judge the beginning of how it's going to turn out. This is my first rodeo, but it does take, does take several steps. They're all easy to do. And of course, all this is going to get weathered, but I did take a picture of it before. I'm pretty sure. This thing looked pretty rough, but I saw, like, this got potential. I like the body style of it. All right, let's let that sit for a while. I keep clipping it with keep fat fingering it. It's not a big deal. It's just gonna need one more coat. It's gonna need one more coat of something like this, and then bring it up one, and then we'll come in and we'll give it a brown wash and black lining and the weathering, and it'll all look like it's all together. That's why I've got, multiple things that I'm working on. So I think this is gonna take forever to do if I use this small brush. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this thing off to the side. Let's grab one that we can cover a lot better with it. Even this one here, just the tiniest little black. This one we used to pull it. We need one that's got a little bit more shape. Okay, I think this one will do. We need to come in and we need to clean them all. And we're just going to paint all this in this color. Well, I discovered a new show this week. New show for me that I didn't even know existed. I know lots of you guys were telling me about that video game Twisted Steel, which I never played because I don't have a PlayStation. It was exclusive only for Xbox. So I watched some videos of it, and it doesn't look like a game. You're kind of limited, you know. But anyhow, so I watched a little bit, and then I realized in doing that, there was a show that based on the video game that came out a few years ago that I had never seen. And so I started watching that. The first episode I thought was really good, and of course, just like everything else, it's not as good, you know. But I'm going to finish watching it. But we're in the middle of the first season right now, and might be a little while before I can do it. So one of my goals this weekend is actually make the little Bug-Eye Subaru that's in the game, the Bug-Eye WRX that's in the show. And then I found out today that Johnny Lightning is literally releasing the same cars for the show. So I'm probably going to wait off and see what they come up with, because trying to find a Bug-Eye Subaru diecast 164th is going to cost $15-20, something like that. They're not easy to find. I've done a search for them, and they're more expensive than they should be. And you know, I'd hate to do it, and then, oh yeah, that thing you just custom built. Well, now here's another one. I mean, you know, I don't mind custom building it, but you know, I'd rather custom build something that they're not going to make instead of custom building something that they are going to make, and kind of wasted my time doing it. So we'll hold off on that. Usually it didn't pull. Who was that? What was the name of that company that always would do stuff like that? Curacao Miniatures. They didn't do it on purpose. It was just, you know, I'd make like an army and with, you know, custom figures, and then as soon as I was done with them, oh yeah, we got Ottoman Turks coming. Well, I don't need them now. The Curacao factor. All right, I'm going to drop a little bit of airbrush thinner in here. Let's close this thing back up and shake the living hell out of it. See if this makes a difference. We just got some clots. Some clots in here. And this is going to have blood splatters and stuff. But we'll do that after we do the weathering. You don't want to do all that blood splatters. Man, it looks great. And then you do the weathering and you cover over it. Like, damn it. This end of this is just completely clogged. Let's see if we can't do something about that. We don't need the blade down here or the chain in this color. The tiniest of black there. Now this is going to be treated like a wrecking ball in the game. I have one other vehicle that has a wrecking ball. It has not seen action yet. That vehicle has been built for some time and hasn't seen action. It's a larger vehicle, not this large, but it's a 35-point vehicle. Okay, and what's going to happen is this is going to sit back here like this. Well, it's got a stick on there right now. Guess I should remove that. It's going to go something like this. Of course, glued. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get more of this color. Now we'll wait for this to dry a little bit. So I don't want to put more of this on and then it ends up wiping the other color off, right? We're specifically avoiding the things that are going to be metallic colored. No point in painting them, just rather than repaint them. Let's rinse this puppy out. And let's get one of these. And get the rest of this stuff out. See, the bristles aren't getting all the way down, so let's get a little bit of hand sanitizer. And this will get all the dried paint out. Look at all that stuff. And it'll allow the bristles to lay up against each other and give it some shape. And it doesn't matter how long it's been dirty. And we'll give it a good rinse for good measure. And if you're happy with the results, you leave it like that. If not, you go in again. And we got all of this paint out of it. We got a little bit of bluing there at the bottom. Looks like we used it for something blue and it stained it. But pretty much good to go. Set that off to the side. You know, even this brush that's just, see if we can get one that's really bad. Okay, look at this brush, okay? This brush is totally hard. Can't do anything with it. All right, put it in here. And loosen up all that paint color. Of course, it won't work with enamels. With enamels, you could probably use mineral spirits or something like that to get them off. But you know, acrylics normally don't reactivate. Well, they do with this. And somebody told me a while ago, you use rubbing alcohol. It works just as good. Well, I tried it. I tried it live and it didn't. So maybe I wasn't holding my mouth right or something. But you know, you can use rubbing alcohol and waste a lot of time. It's not like this hand sanitizer is that expensive. So this will be a brush I can use doing the weathering when we get to that. Well, we have this Mustang that's mostly yellow with a Y on the roof. Y and a comma. We're going to get rid of the comma. Yeah. See, this is now bendable. Still going to have some staining from other colors, but pretty easy fix. It's great to take, you got paint on your hands or something like that. gets rid of that stuff immediately, especially something like primer. Okay, let's close up the airbrush thinner. All right, and if you want to use this thing again, just take a paper towel, wipe this stuff off, and you're good to go. Now, that's the other thing, is this stuff is gel, so it's not sloshing all over the place. You know, it pretty much stays together. Okay, where to next? Well, so this, I actually used some Chat GPT to name this thing, and this is going to be with a Y. It's going to be the YOLO Pony. So definitely going to have a character here that does their own stunts and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some black lining to it, just to kind of make it look like we've got some other stuff going on here. And then by the time we're done with that, we can mix up another one and do a lighter dry brush, a lighter overbrush color on that. So we're going to use dark tone, and we're going to have a little bit of water here that we can work with. And then we're going to get a paintbrush that is really thin, that we got a lot of control with. Especially one if it's got like long, it's long and slender, like a liner. And we're going to come in and we're going to put a little black line into all the recesses here, so the door and such can stand out. One of my favorite steps of the whole process. It's funny, this is the year that I'm building cars for Gaslands as far as a hobby, and this is the 1 year I'm not going to the car show. I've gone several years in a row. I've gone 4 years in a row and been like, why am I even coming here? A bunch of stuff doesn't even apply to me. You know, it's geared towards people that want to like replace the engine and, you know, blow it out or whatever, you know. Get 700 horsepower out of a 300 horsepower engine kind of thing. You ended up buying some Bacchus minis. Really hope they don't take forever to get here. Yeah, you got some bad record with that kind of stuff. Well, all bets are off, when you get everything's different since, when. So, yeah, I didn't know about this whole Twisted Metal TV show. So I've been watching it with the daughter the last couple of nights. I think we're 4 or 5 episodes in. Started off really strong, got really weak. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. My main draw to watch it is the main car in it. I mean, it's a Bug-Eye WRX. It looks really cute. I was going to build one, although it's very hard to find a Bug-Eye WRX that's affordable. And I just found out just today, as a matter of fact, just at dinner time, I saw there was a post on, I think, the Gaslands group that said something like Johnny Lightning was going to start making cars directly from the show. So we'll see what it turns out with. I mean, before I go and modify one, but it's kind of it's like a deep orange with black trim WRX Bug-Eye. It looks good. Looks really good. It's got guns in the weird place though. They're right here behind the wheel wells. It focuses too much on the people, and I was watching it with the daughter. Never played the video game. First couple episodes are all right. And then, of course, just like anything else, they keep getting shittier and shittier and shittier and shittier. I tried playing Twisted Metal game. I don't know how I used to play those as a kid. They're very hard. I watched the video and it doesn't sound like it doesn't look like anything I'd want to play. It's just constant regurgitating. You got a lot of scenery and none of it really matters, and it's a little too hokey. It's like hokier than Grand Theft Auto. Looks like it. I watched one demo of somebody playing. I'm like, man, it doesn't seem like there was a whole lot of car variety. I'm like, okay, well, not interested then. I honestly don't know how video games like that are very jump involved, like say the Mario Brothers games, are so popular. They're just, like once you have a job, you're like, man, I'm just too tired to go through all that turmoil. Yeah, I was gonna build them from scratch. I actually didn't want to. I didn't even want a sweet tooth. Um, I just wanted the main car because it's a WRX. I finally got a WRX, but it's the 2024 that doesn't get any respect from anybody. The WRX community does not embrace the new WRX mainly because of the whole the plastic cladding that's on the around the wheel wells. It looks weird. It makes it look like you got a hell of a gap around it. It looks okay in black, but that car went up at $10,000 in price. I got mine for like just over 31, and 5 years later now it's like 41 to have the equivalent car. It's like more COVID bullshitry. Of course, now all the cars have all these warning things. Look out, you're in the wrong lane. All the BS stuff. Engines that turn off on you. There's a way to bypass that stuff, but Okay. So we did the black lining on the YOLO pony. Let's go back to this white color. I don't know if I'm gonna, jury's still out if I'm gonna play tomorrow. I'm pretty freaking tired. These these work weeks have been pretty hellish. All right, let's try this thing right here. Yeah, we need more paint than that. I'm a mixing ball. It's gonna come out, I'm sure. Now this thing's actually pretty empty. It might be a little on the large side there. See, I sprayed this guy, the yellow pony. I decided to spray him yesterday. Gave him a clear coat, brown wash, primed the damn tires as two of them were pink and two of them were green. That ain't gonna fly. Does anyone in your group still play Ancients? I think Mitch does, but he doesn't advertise when he does it. I mean, not like before. What he's playing all the time is that, those command and colors type games, which whether or not they're with miniatures doesn't really, they don't count as miniature games as far as I'm concerned. But they'll still play it at cons and stuff. But he's got a guy that comes every Tuesday. He comes and he plays with him all day long, and he doesn't like DBA. He won't play DBA, so he's not playing him with that guy. He's not playing Ancients with that guy either. So I don't know. I don't regret not playing Ancients though. I don't. I wouldn't be able to do all this shit. And it's not that the ancient game isn't good. It just doesn't appeal to a lot of people. And, it's a long commitment for me. It's like a 4 to 6 month commitment of not painting any other armies. Whereas here, it's like, all right, I want to do this big truck. And then what? Well, in a few hours, I can do something different. This one's taking a little bit longer than normal because we're having to repaint stuff because the paint's chipped. Repaint some of it because the paint is chipped. But other than that, I can get a car done in about 2 hours. So where it would never occur to me to sell any of my ancients. I'm not opposed to selling these. Now, nobody's offering, and I haven't really come up with what a price would be, but you know, um, these have a chance of me selling them, whereas ancients, there's no way I'd sell ancients, you know. I don't know too much about the Command and Colors game. What's this car that you're paying now? This one, the truck? Well, the truck is the butcher. The truck is going to be like a 50 point. So all the cars that I have, almost all the cars are 27 points. It just worked out that way. They're all interchangeable. You know, this one's 27 points, that one's 27 points. If I've done 50 cars, 4 of the 50 cars are not 27 point cars. The next step up is 35 points. And there's 6 or 7 of those cars that are made that way. And I mean cars that might be a truck or what have you. This, you can't do it with 35 points. You can't. I mean, the core vehicle is 25 and it's got 5 build slots. So like, you know, you're going to get really high. So this thing is going to be somewhere in the 50 something range. So, you know, I'd like to make it 54 and that way you can take this or 227 points. Not that I'm super hung up on the points because it's not like we're going to play in a tournament or anything, but it's just kind of nice to have that as a check and balance, you know. And honestly, what I really like about this is I'm building all the cars and I won't necessarily play them first. And I'm okay with that. I'm not keeping score or anything like that, you know. I like that everybody pretty much randomizes what car they get. They pretty much played only with the 27 point vehicles. The last game that we played, everybody had a 35 point vehicle and a 27 point vehicle. So I had like the Boom Bus and Methcalade, and Mitch was running. What was he running? He was running. White Trash and Jerry Skids. And then Marty had 2 vehicles, one of them being the Old Ben. Old Ben ended up winning the race. But I have a feeling this is going to be definitely an interesting game, an interesting vehicle to play, this particular one. Because one of the things that I noticed with the Boom Bus, like the Boom Bus didn't even take any damage. And it wasn't trying to avoid combat or anything. But like once he fell behind, you couldn't catch up. He couldn't catch up to the truck. And the truck can only get in 4th gear, but the Boom Bus can only get in 3rd. There's like no way for it to catch up. Well, so we don't have the same thing happening in this vehicle. Because this really needs to be a menace. One of the skills I'm adding to it is Hell for Leather. And Hell for Leather allows it to play the long straight at all times. So we'll see how that works out. So you'll have a vehicle that can only go in 3rd gear, but it can always play that long straight. So he's paying for points. I mean, it's going to be like a 54 point vehicle. So it better be nasty or you spend a lot of points on it. You know, so it'd be like, you can have this at a 27 point, and somebody else has 3 27 point vehicles. Something like that. Yeah, let's see what happens, you know. It'd be good for some laughs, that's for sure. Be good for some laughs. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and take a brush that's a little bit bigger with a little bit more paint in it. And let's give this an overbrush here. this right here. Now, what I was disappointed in is I looked at all the other game modes, and they all kind of suck compared to Death Race. That doesn't mean I wouldn't come up with my own game modes, but right now we're just building cars, having fun. Maybe in the future, okay, my own exclusive game modes, but you playing cards anymore? I stopped playing it for a while, and I played it the last couple of days a little bit. They had a new home front pack that had some interesting cards that dropped, but obviously we're not spending any real money on that. That's just dumb. That's not in my personality to do that. Let's see how this thing looks on here. This is what this is going to look like. So this is going to be treated like a wrecking ball. It's got a chain gun at the front and a ram made of a bunch of saw blades on the front. All right, I'm going to go. Let's get the metal out here. Now, you played it a long time. Sometimes I grab the free card, but reading a lot of Hoplite stuff lately. There's a game. Where is it? There's a name of this company called The Perfect Captain. They're not around anymore, but they were around. I'm sure you've seen it being on the Fanaticus and stuff. The Perfect Captain. They made all kinds of different games. One of them they made was called Hoplomachia, and it was a Greek. It was specifically for hoplite warfare, and it looked really interesting. One of those assemble it this way, and you're like literally playing out of a book. And their games were free, or they wanted you to donate to one of their causes or whatever. I never played any of their games. I just looked at them. They're too. Like I said, it's too difficult to try to figure out on your own. It wasn't like something I was really interested in. They did have a Renaissance one that I always wanted to play, but it required too many figures for me to do. It's called Pistolado or something like that. But the production value in a lot of their stuff was pretty darn decent, especially for somebody that they were just doing it out of the love of the sport of it. That was their thing. But the Hoplomachia looked really interesting. But I think that'd be really old, like, just Greeks on Greeks, linear kind of stuff. Although I've had some really good games with those Athenians. I mean, those actually, you'd think those games would be really boring in DBA, and they really aren't. They look like they'd be really boring, but they're not. But I don't miss not being involved in that. There's too many people that are just disruptive, that just want to cause problems, and I just don't. I don't really have time for that. Now I'm like, this is how we're gonna play it, and if you don't like it, well, go fly a kite up your own ass. This whole idea of, well, that's what the rules say, we have to play it that way, even though it doesn't make sense to any of us, that's gone. I'm never going back to that. And the only reason I did that was for the tournaments. I didn't want any house rules that when you had to play in a tournament, you had to unhouse rules, and then you hate this game, But who the hell's doing tournaments? Not in the U.S. That sounds interesting, right up your alley. You're working on a quick miniature battle system for the Pericles board games I have. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have time to do everything. And I'm always going to paint stuff. I mean, I'm a painter, so I can't play something that just takes a long time to paint everything for it, or I'm just never going to have the stuff for it. And like I said, the really nice thing is, the really nice thing about this is like if I don't have to commit 6 months to building one vehicle. I could, I want to paint a colorful one. Well, I want one that's drab. I want one that's red. In a moment, you could turn around and do something completely different. Keeps it fresh. So from that standpoint, that's a lot better for me. And the workload at work is just really just, it's just a problem. I've been really tired. And it's also really a problem when you're playing with people that either don't have that challenging of a job or are retired. And it's like, you want me to do more and you're not doing a fucking thing. Game out with trying Gaslands is something like a long stretch of road, and the players have to try to finish as something like a boss vehicle tries to chase them down. Yeah, I think there already is a mode like that. Yeah, that would work. Well, I got to build a tractor trailer, so that's actually one of the goals this weekend is go find a tractor trailer. So, you know, I'm really enjoying the creativity of like teams and team builds and naming things and like this is probably going to be a team. And what I mean on a team, there's things that float in and out. Like for instance, I've got that the flower in Fubuki. Okay, it's a Japanese car on the Japanese team, but it can be also on an all girls team because it's a girl driver, right? That kind of stuff. Like this could be some outlaw team, but this is going to be like a member of a team called Fruits and Nuts. So this would be. I'm not sure if this is a nut or a fruit yet, but we'll figure it out. So fruits and nuts could be, pink cars and things like that. The California raisins. But ultimately, the team doesn't really matter. Most of the time, we're just playing one guy versus somebody else. But, if you did want to do something that had some cars that are grouped together by similarities just for some camaraderie. But I'm not going to do like the rules have in there that you can build factions or whatever, and each faction gets free stuff. Like if you're on the Warden faction, you get free. I don't know. I don't know what they are, but I'm not doing that. Everything is still buy. You still have to buy it. I think it balances things up nicely, or at least it gives you something unbiased to balance it towards. Yeah, I actually don't like that all the vehicles have these things because then it makes every vehicle similar that's on that team, and I don't really want that. I want to maybe similar by how they look or nomenclature or something like that. But tractor trailer doubles as a drone carrier would be cool, but I doubt that the drones are in Gaslands. No. Now the closest thing to drones is they do have RC cars that explode, and I've got some RC cars for that. Yeah, it had these two stacks and it had these holes in here, so I pulled these other two pieces of brass. And I got 4 stacks in there, and spewing out a whole lot of a torque. You know, if we use this and it ends up like being too deadly, well, we could just dial it down. But this thing needs to be something that's chasing folks down with this, with the chopper. Get to the chopper. All right, same thing on this side. Like I see, at this point, it's like I trust the process. I've seen this start off like unimpressive, and then when every step you add something to it, you just become happier with the results. So at this point, I'm like, yeah, we know what we need to do. So I'm not discouraged by like, man, this looks kind of like haphazard at the beginning. I'm like, yeah, we've done this enough times. We know it'll turn out good. And like I said, I think this is going to be a fan favorite because people like those apocalyptic looking things, and horror movie junkies. I mean, I'm not doing it for other people. It's just it's interesting. We'll do this over here. Yeah, the 3D printing on this particular item is just really kind of crude and archaic compared to some of the other stuff. I guess I used to look at this perfect captain site as a young adult. I see this handmade trireme. Used to drool over. It's probably been about 15 years since I've been on the site. Yeah, I think their site is on Wayback Machine. So there's this company out in Washington State, and I want to say they make playmats, and I want to say the name of their company is called like Hot something or other, HOTZ, and it's named after one of the developers on there, or one of the artists or whatever. And they sell different things. They sell like a set of like marinas for like ancient Romans and stuff like that, and they actually sell some triremes, which I believe you can put together with paper, and they look pretty damn good. They look pretty damn good. But there's just there's some types of warfare in some time periods that I personally just don't find interesting. For instance, I'm not a big fan of Napoleonic games, right? I'm not. But if we're going to play Napoleonic ship games, the Napoleonic land stuff is infinitely more interesting than Napoleonic ships. I just don't care about Napoleonic ships. They all look the same. I mean, well, how could a scooter look the same as a 74 gun ship of the line? No. What I'm saying is all 74 gun ship of the lines look the fucking same. It doesn't interest me. So why would I want to paint 40 things that are all basically the same thing? Well, the gun ports are a different color. That's not enough. So a long time ago, yeah, it was probably 25 years ago. I had a friend of mine who was coming up with, he would really like the sailing ship games. So he was creating his own set of rules and got us all like, hey, buy one ship of the line, paint it up, and we'll play on this given Sunday or whatever. This is back when I lived alone at the condo. And I know I was a procrastinator. And I waited until last night to work on this damn thing, this 74 gun ship of the line from GHQ. Did all the rigging and drilled it and did all the stuff. It was so frustrating. I came up with like new cuss words and everything. Got the thing done. Played the game one time, hated it. Never played it again. Can't say I've played Wooden Ships and Iron Men a couple times. That game's okay. But as far as a miniatures game with sailing ships, count me out. Just doesn't interest me. Trireme, same thing, wouldn't interest me. Everybody's triremes look the same. Well, the Greeks had this quick careme, and the other ones are the bit. Yeah, okay, that doesn't interest me. Since your miniatures are 6mm, I was looking at 6mm triremes, but the company closed in October, so I might go small and do 1/2400 scale, or 1/1200, or 1/600. I'm triremes. They probably make them 1/300. I don't know. But then, you know, you look at stuff like on, what's that silly ass game? Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Boy, there's some beautiful things in that game. That has some really inspirational Greek shit in there. And the ships are beautiful. You know, completely ridiculously over the top, unrealistic, but aesthetically beautiful. You know, with the different banners and shit like that. I played that game a lot until it stopped working. I was thinking, man, that game would be really handy if I was paint when I paint my Athenians. They have 1/3000 scale ships. Huh. Really, really small. Okay, that's one color of the metal. Let's kick it up a notch. Let's kick it up a notch. One up a notch is Lead Belcher. Great name for a vehicle. With like 3 chain guns. Miniguns. Minigun, chain gun, same thing. Hard to call something this big a minigun. The thing's massive. The thing is massive. What's the worst game you ever played? Like, you know, board game that you're like, I'm never playing this thing ever in my life. And hopefully it was just the game, not the company. You know, like the other people you're playing with, meaning company, not like, you know, whoever manufactured it. What's really bad is when the people you play with really like a game and you absolutely hate it. Like, I'm never playing this game ever again. Fortunately, that doesn't really happen that often. It's unusual that somebody like just like, I absolutely hate this game. I'm not going to play it, and everybody likes it. Something about triremes always interested me, but I've never played miniatures games with them. I agree, they're probably not that interesting to paint. You know, the first two would be, but you know, you'd have to find a way. You know, it's like it's the same thing that I was talking about. Like if you're going to make like if you wanted to build a Three Kingdoms Chinese army, right? And you can't just build one; you got to build two. So who are you going to build? You're going to build like Shuhan and Wei and Northern Wei or something like that. Okay, so we'll make one of them greenish and we'll make one of them bluish, so they can face off of each other. You got to make like the peasants like, you know, most of the troops are going to be like peasant like, so you got to make those guys look different from each other. So when they're facing each other, you know who's who. You know, that same thing. You know, you're doing triremes. You got to make them look different, so that like, okay, these are the Greeks and these are the Romans or whatever. You know, got to find a way to make that happen. It was actually an interesting challenge, I thought, when I was building Dracula's army or something like that. An army that had a shitload of peasants, or the Irish, a shitload of like guys that didn't have a lot of money, but you had to kind of make them look interesting enough and varied enough that it wasn't like you were just painting everybody white with linen colors. So, so I would never be one of those people. It's like, oh, I just paint generic medieval figures and I could use them for any medieval army. That's sacrilege. Like that's the best part is doing the heraldry. You're gonna not do that. That's like a big draw for me. That's the best part about a medieval army, and not just random shit. I mean, like historical stuff. Let's see if we can get in here and. All right, now we're going to go up one more. I don't know if I have a board game that I hate. I have a Peloponnesian War board game, and it acts like an hour to set up. Guess I hate that because by the time I get it set up, people lose interest. Well, you got to be really interested in it. Um, Columbia Games, I believe it's Columbia makes games. You know, the guys that make the little block games where you can see your strength factors and your opponent can't. They make one that's like Peloponnesian War. They look really good. It might be called Athens versus Sparta or something like that. I like the Peloponnesian War stuff, though. I hate Alcibiades. Fuck that guy. He showed up in Odyssey, and I was like, I ain't helping that guy. Like, I'm not accepting his missions. I'm gonna, I'm gonna backstab that guy because he's a backstabber. God, I hate Alcibiades. Gotta be the worst Greek character ever. Well, there might be worse, but I can't think of one right now. That guy's terrible. This is going to be pretty gory on the front, almost a little Deadpoolish. Well, maybe not that bad. That's pretty extreme. That'd be pretty extreme. Yeah, as a matter of fact, one of the first Audible books I read was the Peloponnesian War. Plutarch. I believe it's Plutarch. No, no, is it? No, the other guy. The other guy's is it Herodotus? Anyways, the Peloponnesian War was the first one that I read, and I remember going that and you know going over that in what is sixth grade. Sixth grade is when you do all the Greek stuff, and yeah, it's pretty interesting conflict from the standpoint that it's not like these guys are over here and these guys are over here, but they like bounce around in a bunch of different places. See, Athens part of the Pericles game. I hated it as a kid, but I really love it as an adult. I can picture the cover of it. Is it a game where you're actually doing stuff that has to do with the actual conflict? Because then you got a lot of games that are like, I'm going to just use Agricola as an example. And I don't know if this is the case because I've never played it, but you're like, oh, this is a game that's, this Roman general named Agricola, whatever, and you do all this stuff. It ends up being like, building farms and shit like that. It's like, that's not, it needs to be like in the name of the name needs to go with like what you're doing, at least for me to be interested in it. I've played a few board games. I won't play. The worst one by a country mile is this one game made by I believe it was GDW, and I believe it is Frank Chadwick's game, and it's called Soldier King, and it is just it looks first of all it looks like a melted asshole, and you're playing like a Napoleonic type game with make believe countries on a really ugly map of Switzerland. So like Switzerland is like divided into different countries, and that's what you're fighting over with make believe armies of like the 1880s or something like that. I don't think it's Napoleonic. I think it's like 7 Years War-ish. And the combat system is just like pulling teeth, just like redundant and tedious. And, I hated that game. Easily the worst game that I can remember. Another game that I really disliked that would be the worst game had I not played Soldier King was 1830, and that's an Avalon Hill game. I absolutely hated 1830. It's a railroad game. I don't hate railroad games. I just hate stock games. And it's a stock game that's ugly to look at and it's kind of hard to grasp. And it's like, it just doesn't interest me. And at the time, the person that had that game was the guy I would play with frequently, and he loved that game. So I was like, that's just kind of like a bad combination. But I do like the Railroad Crayon games. I like those a lot, actually. Okay. Oh, we flat out missed this. I don't like games where you're forced to be from the get go. You basically have to lie about your identity. You have to pretend to be one of the guys, but you're really a turncoat. I don't like those games. I don't mind where you have to turn on everybody at the last minute, because somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose, kind of thing. I don't mind that. I mean, that's all fair. But just where you're basically like lying to everybody all the time, the entire game, it's not my thing. Pericles, almost nothing to do with the conflict. That sucks. That's why I hated it as a kid, but the player interaction is way more fun than any Greek board game I played. Rise and Decline of the Third Reich. What an ugly game. What an ugly long turning. It takes me forever to get to be my turn again type of game. I absolutely hate it. Again, at the time, one of the people that I used to game with, it was his favorite game. Like, can't play that. God, it's ugly to look at. Like, you're looking at this game for hours, and it looks like a melted asshole. Oh, that one's dead. I'm gonna need to buy a strong tone soon. The worst thing about board games, though, is how long it takes to set up. And so I'm definitely a proponent. Look, I don't have anything against board games, but make them on a computer. They usually look better, and they set up immediately. You can save, and you can pick up where you left off. I don't necessarily dislike the fact that they're board games. I'm not anti-board game. I'm just, that's wasting a lot of time. Like you said, by the time it takes setup, a lot of people like lost interest. And that's kind of unusual. It's like, well, okay, well, somebody who gets bored in an hour, like they're not going to make it to the end of the game to begin with, but I see what their point is, All right, let's get one of these that just, ooh, what's this one? Ooh, this one's nice and soft. Let's water this down a little bit. This is the strong tone. And we're going to put this strong tone over these areas that we painted. Just kind of make them tie in a little bit better. It's like Carcassonne. Carcassonne doesn't have anything to do with the city at all, One game that I absolutely loved was Wallenstein, and it has nothing to do with the 30 Years' War. Well, I mean, there's some conflict and stuff in there, but it really could be any conflict, not necessarily 30 Years' War. That's a great game. That's a really good game. And it has no dice, which I am a dice fan. I'm a fan of games that involve dice. It allows you to do something. You're not just along for the ride. Like you get to, get excited when you shake it or something like that. I mean, I know ultimately it doesn't make any freaking difference. You know, I'm not one of those cultish people that believes in, you know, a dice mystic or something. Although I do know somebody who will not play board games with me, games with dice, because he thinks that I roll too well. I said, well, you know, if you're afraid of the dice, that's on you. You know, every time you roll the dice, it's an opportunity for greatness, an opportunity for something amazing to happen. I mean, I've gotten screwed by the dice, and I've won many games because of them, you know, but I'm certainly not scared of it. All right, and now we're going to do the same thing to this guy, except we're going to need more strong tone out here. I know I'm probably jinxing myself, but I wouldn't mind making a campaign board like Little Wars did for a Pirate campaign. But now that I've said that, my miniatures will never show. Yeah, that was a beautiful board, but that was one of their campaigns that I got the most excited about seeing them do because I'm a Pyrrhus fan. I think he's extremely interesting. But they managed to make it really uninteresting. I was surprised. So maybe that was just me. I just didn't find it very. I wonder if they'll do the same thing with Wintergewitter. Like, oh man, that's like one of my favorite campaigns. And like, oh, those rules suck. I I want to see what they come up with scenarios, and you know, I've read enough about that conflict that I've kind of like, you know, I don't want to say an expert on it, but I kind of know what fits and what doesn't. And I'm wondering if they're going to fall in if they're going to make any pitfalls with it. I'm not going to call them out on it or whatever. You know, I'll just bring it up on my show. You know, they do a good quality. It can't be into everything, you know, but I know when I was getting this information to do those kind of scenarios, I ended up picking up a Two Fat Lardies scenario book. You know, whatever their game is called. Is it I ain't been shot? No. The other one, the one that they do the one that I almost played. That's almost what I'm interested in. Command, the one with the damn command dice, whatever the hell it's called. And immediately after getting it, I found like a huge error in it. Like, well, I don't know that it's huge. It's huge for me because, you know, I'm into tanks and stuff like that. But they showed you could pick something that you shouldn't have been able to pick. I shouldn't say a huge error. I would say, you know, a failure of what I would call common knowledge. You know, heck, I've probably made mistakes like that too, but I didn't publish anything. You know, I like to proofread my shit before I do something like that. But what is the name of the chain of command? Is it chain of command what it's called? I forget. I mean, you stop talking about something and then you just end up forgetting what the hell things are. I think it's called chain of command. Anyways, I picked it up and then I was like, well, this isn't as useful as I would have thought it was going to be. Yeah, this is going to look pretty fucking badass. This is going to look pretty fucking badass. Now again, can't go any further with it because it's still wet. The only thing I dislike about all this is it's just like, okay, I want to keep working on it. Well, you can't. You got to take a little bit of a break. Otherwise, the stuff that you just did is going to wash off. Because the next step is going to be black lining after that dries. But I mean, this looks like a vehicle that, you know, you see it and it's like, man, how many smokestacks that thing have? Oh my God, it's got spinning blades and blood on it, and it's got the big chopper on it and blood splatter all over it. The Pyrrhus campaign was a letdown. I was in the Philippines when those episodes were coming out. Yeah, the map looked beautiful. The map looked absolutely beautiful. But the reality is they're trying to do a lot of different periods, right? So they're going to be playing things that are a lot more generic, not as deep as some of us would like, if that's like our jam. I've looked at their set of rules. They're whatever the hell they're called, Hannibal or whatever the hell they're called, and they have some interesting mechanics in there, but I don't know about having a rule set that's only for ancients. It's kind of like, it's like, all right, I'm going to get into playing some World War II game, right? And well, the rules are only out for the Germans and the Russians. Well, I want to play everybody, including the Japanese. Like, why don't I just include it? Well, they'll come out later. I'm like, all right, well, I'll just wait till buy the rules later because I like having everything and being able to compare one thing versus something else. Not like I'm not interested in that theater at all. And is it a money grab or is it well, it just takes time to develop it. Well, I'll just wait then, you know? That's how things used to be. You'd wait until they had development time and then you get stuff. Not the I'll buy this half complete thing, which is, pretty common if you're looking at like computer games through Steam. Like, oh, here's this half-ass finished game that if you help fund it, maybe we'll finish the game. That seems kind of odd to me. I know they have the reasons for doing it, but all right, we got some center supports there that are going to need to be the body color. I don't know what a YOLO Mustang would have. Um, I haven't decided yet. I don't want to get too deep into it. I think this is going to look pretty freaking cool when we're done with it because it's gonna be wild colors. We're gonna get rid of this comma. I don't really know what the heck the purpose of having a comma on there is, but I'm probably gonna put some kind of machine gun on the roof that'll cover over that. Maybe not this. This is actually like somebody said, oh, this looks like one of those rail guns, but honestly, it looks like a shotgun to me. In this game, it'd be like a heavy machine gun or something like that. I don't know that I'm going to go with that. I think Little Wars TV Hannibal game had that morale countdown dice. Okay, man, thanks for stopping by. I understand the tired thing. I haven't been able to do this last couple nights. Have a good one, man. Always appreciate you coming by. Man, just take a little bit of time. So at this point, okay, so what can I do? Well, there's a couple things I can paint on here that I can probably like prime. They're going to get other colors on top of them. But I'm not necessarily opposed to leaving these bolts and stuff in that white color already. Um, oh my God, it's only 8? Holy shit. This time change just been brutal. Absolutely brutal. It's just psychologically distressing. Well, it could be worse. It could be like, you think it should be earlier and it's not. That would be worse. Because the way it is now, you're like, man, I'm ready for bed, and like you go to bed at like 9, and you're all right with it. And if it was the other way, you'd be like, all right, it's midnight. Oh, come on, man, I just got home. The other direction would probably be worse. Hold on 1 second. I can't pause this as quick as before. All right. So let's get the black lining out. And this might actually be some of it. Yep, it is. We still have it. Okay, perfect. Let's get a little bit of water in case we want to thin this down a little bit. And then what we'll do is we'll be able to weather this in the morning. We're going to leave the wheels as is. No need to mess with those at all. Because the good part about the weathering part is that you can basically like do and then like continue on with it. Because it's, I mean, hell, you're dry brushing. So that's totally able to continue with it. Got the little Peterbilt logo. I want to keep that on there. Built by Peter. Got those little ridges running across the hood there. I mean, the body style of this truck reminds me of something I might have had as a kid. I don't know that I had this one. I know that as a kid I would have wanted all the police cars. But it's hard to find police cars in the stores. They usually like fly. Got these little like cab lights up here. Well, I'm gonna find a use for that real thin super glue because I've had that stuff a long time and pretty much like thought I wasted my money. But I'm glad I did find a use for that. As far as being able to use it to kind of let it like dribble down into the joints and kind of tie everything together. And they each have their purpose. Almost like use that one as an assist. You can't really do a whole lot with it by itself. It's just a little too runny. This actually was really pretty crude when I got this on the 3D printer, which is really strange because this guy's stuff is like super high quality, except for this thing. And this may have just been something that he had, one of the first things that he built, and he was still, either still made some and he had some in inventory. I didn't complain to him about them. It's fine. We'll make it work. We cleaned it up. It looks all right. It was just, I was doing a lot of cleanup for him. I was honestly surprised. I didn't really think that the Tamiya wash like this worked any better. And of course, when you add the little rusty drippings, that's when it really kind of takes things to another level. It adds like another level of realism kind of thing. Now, I don't think I'm going to glue this thing down. I'm going to leave it as is. And the reason why is when I package this up to move it, I can remove this instead of having this brittle thing that if I'm not holding my mouth right or something like that, it'll end up breaking. So I think I'm going to keep that as is. So we're going to have to stop, let this dry overnight, and then in the morning, mess with the weathering and drippings and so forth. All right, folks, thanks for coming by. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.